Here's a question for you. What makes a hero a hero? Believe it or not, the answer isn't about what they do. It's about what they go up against. And now that we've crossed the halfway point of your story, it's time to turn up the heat and see what your protag is made of. In this lesson, we're covering the downhill fall, including what it is, the two main sources of its power, and a great tool you can use to make sure the most important element of this phase stays front and center. This video is a lesson from a full free mega course on our website. If you're ready to supercharge your storytelling, click the link in the description and start your journey today. This video is also part of a series, so if you haven't watched the previous videos, there are links down below. So we've just passed the midpoint, which includes something positive and something negative. Since the uphill climb was overall positive, it's time to balance things out and bring in a whole lot of negative. Enter the downhill fall, the ninth step of USL and a phase that showcases the protag's descent. Just as the uphill climb was a series of successes, the downhill fall is often a series of failures, the worst of which will come in the next step, the moment of peril. A great example of the downhill fall is the one in Bridesmaids. In it, protag Annie loses her job, loses her potential relationship with Rhodes, gets kicked out of her apartment, and, to top things off, her old storefront is getting vandalized. It perfectly showcases what the downhill fall is all about. Watching the protag suffer blow after blow to bring them towards their lowest point. It also highlights a great way of pulling off the downhill fall, by giving the protag failure in every area of their life. Here, Annie suffers failure at work, at home, and with her love interest. The only thing left is her friendship with Lillian, which comes to a screeching halt in the moment of peril. There are two sources of power that fuel the downhill fall. If you want to supercharge this phase, the best thing you can do is use both of them. They go hand in hand and can be used in different ways. And the two power sources we're talking about are external and internal antagonistic forces. External antagonistic forces should strike the protag in the downhill fall. This means if there are specific antags in your story, they should attack the protag here. You can see this in Mulan when antag Shan Yu leads his Hun army against Mulan and her team. This can also showcase characters sabotaging the protag, like in High School Musical when Troy and Gabriella's friends team up to stop them from auditioning for the musical. This comes on top of flack from Troy's father and antags Ryan and Sharpay spying on the pair. As this example shows, the attack should come from all sides. If there are no specific antags in the story, the protag may face other external antagonistic forces. For example, in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, the protags have their car stolen, Harold is arrested, and the pair find themselves face to face with a cheetah. You can think about these antagonistic forces as a series of obstacles your protag will face, and these should be more severe than those in the first half of Act 2. The other source of power for your downhill fall will be internal antagonistic forces. These all have to do with the protag's flaw and their self-sabotaging. This could be insecurities, anger, or even starting to lose trust in others. You can see this in the earlier example of Bridesmaids, since Annie's breakup with Rhodes comes after she kicks him out in the downhill fall when he tries to get her to bake again. The protag usually starts to lash out more, especially towards teammates who are just doing their best. And internal antagonistic forces are way more pronounced in novels, since we can actually get inside the protag's head. We can see them overthinking, losing faith, and being insecure. Try to have a good balance of internal and external antagonistic forces whenever possible. This ensures the attacks on the protag feel well-rounded, coming from all directions, even from the protag himself. It should feel like the world has turned against the protag, and the protag is losing their footing and beginning to fall behind. If any of your favorite stories pull this off well, tell us about them in the comments. Finally, let's talk about a great tool you can use to ensure the most important part of the downhill fall remains at the center. And the part we're talking about is the flaw. The protag's flaw should be the source of internal antagonism, and it should, in part, be the reason for external antagonism. And if it's not the reason, it should be why the protag can't overcome these attacks, or the reason they are falling behind. We're going to dive into why this is so important in the extended version of this lesson, but for now, let's cover a way you can really highlight the flaw in the downhill fall. A common technique is to show the protag using their flaw to get ahead in the testing and uphill climb. This most often takes the form of deception, as they lie to their friends, family, and loved ones to make sure everything runs smoothly. But in the downhill fall, it's time for that deception to catch up with them. A great example of this is in Love, Simon, when Protag Simon lies to his friends throughout the first half of Act 2 to stop Antag Martin from outing him. But this deception catches up to Simon in the downhill fall, as his friends realize the ways they've been deceived and kick Simon out of their friend group. This revelation can also happen in the moment of peril, but in either step, it still helps highlight the Protag's flaw and how it is catching up to them. And it doesn't have to be deception. Any morally questionable tricks the Protag used to get ahead earlier can catch up with them here. That should give you a great idea of what the downhill fall encompasses, including what it is, how it's powered by internal and external antagonistic forces, and how to highlight the Protag's flaw to show their tricks catching up with them. But if you really want to dive deep down into the downhill fall, the extended version of this lesson covers why the flaw is so important to this phase, explores a common subversion that happens right at the end of the downhill fall, and shows this phase in action with an in-depth example of the 2013 animated musical Frozen. See you there.